This is Therapy with Josh D. I'm Josh Davis, a licensed mental health counselor. I'm a relationship therapist that helps individuals and partners navigate relationship trauma. Today, we are talking to Dani, who is a therapist and a coach. She helps her clients navigate body image issues as well as binge eating. She's an awesome therapist. She's great. I really love her energy. This is a great conversation. Let's check it out.
No.
Testing.
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 Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh my gosh. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. It is like storming. Is it storming near you?
No, it's
Okay.
beautiful here.
Okay. Nice and sunny and beautiful.
I'm like, yes.
No, it is like thundering. You'll probably hear it.
I've seen everyone's posts.
Nuts. Insane.
Crazy.
Does Lucy, your dog, does she like rain?
She
Okay.
loves it. She just chills.
Really? Okay. Because
She
my
like
dog,
matches my mood.
oh, I love that. I love your guys' relationship. Every time I see it
I
on
love
like
her.
Instagram, I love my dog too. Um, every time I see you like post about Lucy, I'm always like, oh, sweet baby girl.
I know. I'm always like working. I'm like, hey girl. She's
I
like,
know.
what do you want?
Puma hates storms. Even like when it starts to sprinkle, she'll run into
No
her
way.
kennel. Yeah, and she's a lab. And I'm like, what is up with you, girl? So
Yeah,
I don't know. But so
that's so funny.
usually she'll like stare at me all day long on the couch, but not
Uh-huh.
she's she's in her kennel.
She's like, I'm out of here.
She's
Like,
like, I'm
I'm
out.
not gonna be your
I'm
brother.
not dealing with this.
That's
Have
so
fun
cute. Like, what a
drowning.
laugh.
I know. I know.
That's
Oh,
so
I
cute.
know. I
I
love
love
dogs. Dogs are the
dogs.
best. So tell everyone about kind of who you are, what do you do? Like who's Dani?
Who's Danny? Such a deep question. I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
Who
So
really knows?
I'm
Like, what do you like to do for fun?
I know, I'm like, nothing. No. So I'm a licensed mental health counselor in
Mhm.
Florida, living in Mexico City. I'm also a coach. So little by little, I started in the eating disorder field and I focus on eating disorders. But I think just personally, I noticed that like my passion is like binge eating, emotional eating, and overeating and body image and kind of how they're all like interlaced. So that's where my coaching has been like little by little getting more towards.
Mhm.
And yeah.
So, what do you do? Like, so tell me a little bit more about your coaching and kind of
Mhm.
what you do with clients, your work with clients.
So it's like different, right? So mental health, like in my therapy work, I do eating disorders, right? So it's like that whole spectrum.
Hmm.
With my coaching, it kind of developed through Instagram, which is like very niche. So it's again, binge eating and body image, right? So it's kind of guiding my clients to see how their body image discomfort, which also happens with eating disorders, um, impacts their relationship with food, right? So a lot of times there's like a body image discomfort, fear, right? That comes up,
Hmm.
and the way that society and a lot of things, right, different layers teaches us to deal with that is, oh, you just have to eat less, or you just have to do this with food and exercise. And then it just starts to create like this whole chaos, right? Because you start to diet, you start to restrict, you start to over exercise, and then food just starts to feel out of control and chaotic. So you just continue to like focus on the food instead of the actual root of the issue, which is the huge like body image piece that kind of ignited it all.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like peeling through the layers of, okay, so we want to be able to let go of the food piece, right? Let go of dieting and restricting and the food rules that are keeping you quote unquote in control, like this false sense of control. But a lot of times people don't do the deeper work of body image, which is like a lot of clients come to me and they're like, no, I'm good with the food, but I'm still terrified of like my body changing. So they're like, I don't want to let go, because then what?
Hmm.
Like, what am I going to do with my body image? So it's kind of peeling through all of that at the same time,
Yeah.
so that they're able to like be more at peace and feel like more effortless when it comes to their body and food.
Yeah. Do you notice that people mostly come to you because of the food piece? Like that is like kind of the symptom,
Yeah,
and then underneath it's like, oh wait, there's all this body image stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
because I've worked with some eating disorder clients as well,
yeah.
and I'm curious to know a little bit more about your perspective on body image, and also
Hmm.
like how it impacts relationships because
Hmm.
um it, it, body image can be such a sensitive topic and there's so much shame around it. And I think me working with majority of female clients in that world, and I worked with some dudes too, which I also want to
Hmm.
pick your brain about. um
Hmm.
but it seems like such a sensitive topic and there's so much shame
Yeah.
around it. It's like, what have you found most effective around like being able to create a safe space and allow people to
Mhm.
talk about body image?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's really being aware of the fat phobia that exists in the world and that everyone experiences it in some way.
Hmm.
And that fat phobia like translates differently to different people. So it's hard to, it's like it can be easy to feel invalidated, right? So
Hmm.
when somebody comes to you and because of like diet culture and society and everything, when somebody comes to you and shares something about like their body image, that is literally sharing about like your core. It's like so raw
Hmm.
because it's so layered and because it's so, I call it like a pain point. It's like
Hmm.
so hurtful what they've lived through, and then the perspectives of themselves, the world, and the way they feel like the world experiences them
Hmm.
is just so raw.
Hmm.
And I think because usually people have experienced like when actually communicating and being vulnerable, they're faced with phobia, diet culture, right? Like, oh, just eat less, or oh, just do this, or oh, just lose
Hmm.
weight, right?
Hmm.
They don't feel seen, heard, validated, so they get more hurt as a result, right? So just being open to believing them and understanding them and hearing them. And that in and of itself, like just starts to heal so much,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So just like being like, I hear you, I see you, and I believe you.
Hmm. Yeah, it aligns to a lot of what I do with my clients in working with relationship trauma and complex trauma, because the thought is that we basically have two emotional needs as humans,
Mhm.
and one
Mhm.
is authenticity, like to show our who we are, truly are, and to be seen and be loved
Mhm.
for who we're seeing, and then connection. And either we
Yeah.
have to turn one off or the other. So we forfeit um, authenticity in order to have connection,
Yeah.
or like the vice versa. And that is really what relationship and complex trauma is. And it
Mhm.
ties into so much of like, I have to change who I am, I have to change my body. I have to change this
Mhm.
part of myself in order to find,
Shell.
yes, in order to find love and connection and belonging.
Yeah.
And it's such a painful experience I see for like so many different people and clients. And there's so much like I want to say like myths, but there's a better word for it. There's so many
Mhm.
messages and um factors that are at play in the world. And I kind of want to talk to you more like if someone had no clue what fat phobia was or what diet
Mhm.
culture was and have never heard those
Mhm.
terms, like how would you define that, and like kind of what would you describe some of the pressures that people are living with in regards to body image?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times like it's fish swimming or like don't know what water is, whatever that expression is, right? like
Yeah, yeah,
like you don't know that you're in
yeah,
water or like you're breathing air because like you just it's common,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious, like what is fat phobia for you? Like how would you define it? Like what is like diet culture if you never heard any of those things? Like what are those pressures that we're living in
Yeah, yeah. That's such a
societally?
good question. Um, so if somebody come up to me and was like, I have no idea what that is, it's pretty much the experience. It's like even microaggressions and macroaggressions that people experience when it comes to being not even in a larger body, even people in like straight bodies experience it, right? So it's these messages that you start to like receive about the treatment or the worth that somebody has based on their body size.
Mm.
So there's different types, right? There's internalized, which is the one that, let's say that you grow up and you see your dad being like, well, I don't know, this chick got really big this summer, you know, that typical comment. And you're like, oh, okay, well,
Oh, she's gotten fat. Yeah.
yeah. And then you
Mm.
start to get these messages. You're like 4 years old and you're like, okay, so that's bad, right?
Yeah.
That's not good. Somebody
Mhm.
and somebody that gains weight, it doesn't matter how much, is gonna get judged, isn't gonna get
Mhm.
that connection, isn't gonna get received well,
Mhm.
right? Then you start to internalize it, and that becomes your own like dialogue and the way that you speak to yourself.
Mhm.
That's internalized fat phobia. There's institutionalized fat phobia, which is just like the world and how hard it is to live in this straight world as somebody that's in a bigger body, right?
Mhm.
And then the way that you're going to be treated if, let's say, perfect example, in an airplane, right? And then you get blamed. And it's like, wait a second, like, this is just like one size seat for like the whole world,
Mhm.
right? And then there's cultural fat phobia, which is just like the messages in your own cultural, your own little system
Mhm.
about people in different bodies, right? So it's usually the message of little by little that we start to receive of larger bodies equals deserving less, bad, should change, should shrink, don't deserve.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of this world that you start creating around it and expecting depending on your experiences in your life, right? And then diet culture is like oh, I'll fix that, right? Let's just put you on a diet and just count calories and everything, like all your problems are going to be great, right?
Mhm.
You have to be strict and disciplined and look at everything that's going to like give you, right? And then you start to
Right.
imagine this thing like, oh my God, yeah, if I stick to this diet, then I'll be great. Like I'll be everything that I want to be.
Yes.
When it's like backwards.
Yeah, and diet culture has done a really good job of selling a lie of like
Yeah.
if you are just strong-willed enough, if you just try enough, then if you lose this weight, then everything is going to be fixed in your life, which is just so like much bullshit because like
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
when these conversations come up in the room with me, it always is trying to like I'm trying to show people that like just because you lose weight doesn't mean that all these things are going to align with you. But there
Mm-hmm.
is a nugget of truth because we live in a fucked up
Yeah.
society
Yeah.
and there are going to be people who treat you differently and there are going to be like there is thin privilege in the world and
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. I did want to ask you going
Mm-hmm.
back what you said a term that I'm not too familiar with. You said straight body. What would you mean by that?
Like a body that can just present itself in the world and like fit in a chair, fit in a roller coaster, shop at a regular store,
Got it. Okay.
right? Like not need any extra accommodations to exist in the world that we're in.
Got it. Yeah. And there's such a
Mm-hmm.
diversity in body sizes. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
and that's where like the whole BMI thing drives me nuts
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you know this,
Yeah.
but like the BMI thing was created like it's basically super racist when I don't
Yeah.
think anyone
Pretty
knows
much.
that. Like no one talks about it, but it's like a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of like white, like ideal, like European dudes. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were Scandinavian or German or something, but it was like this is what the ideal thing is, and it never was supposed to be what it is. And now it's like this medical indicator thing that is just like
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah. I
it's
know. I
it's
know.
crazy.
It doesn't take into consideration all of these different factors of like, okay, what is like your cultural background? Like where did you come from? How did you grow up? Like what is your access to a grocery store? Like it's just like one term. And the way that I like to
Mm.
explain it, like I think also in like the diet culture world and in the world that is against diet culture, it can be very like passionate, emotional, right?
Hmm.
So we're like, yeah. fuck this thing. Like, no, who cares? Right. And yeah, okay, if we look at it in a very neutral way, there is research behind the BMI showing us some things about health. Yeah, beautiful. But it's not like the only thing, right? There's so many things that health is based off of
Hmm.
that gets just like thrown out the window, right? People like equate dieting with nutrition. That's something completely different, right? Dieting sells you this image of like, oh my God, if you just like lose 10 pounds in a week, you're going to be great. And it's like, no, 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 that is going to lead you to feel so chaotic, right? And then we can also be like, okay, there's going to be people that are going to be fine with that. They're going to be able to restrict and then come out and be like, I did it, so you can too, right? Okay, yeah, but
Hmm.
that's not everyone.
Hmm.
So it's trying to also add the nuances into it of like, okay, let's look at it in a neutral way, but also in a very educated way. Like you mentioned about like the BMI, that we're like, doesn't really take many things into consideration that we want to take into consideration when it comes to health and wellness and mental health and nutrition, right? So yeah, I like to add that like neutrality part of it of like, yeah, this is there's so many layers to this, you
Hmm.
know?
And that there's not one right way. And like
Yeah.
everybody's body is going to respond and react differently. And like
Mm.
I also think there's this myth that we are always going to, or we're supposed to look like how we were in high school, and like bodies
Yeah,
don't change.
go back
And
to
that's
it.
like such like not accurate. And like
Mm-hmm.
people are going, as you get older, you're going to put on weight because your body is preparing for when you like need it,
Yeah.
and like when you're
Yeah,
sick, and
create a
like
life.
yeah, and like preserve you in later years. And like these things are not talked about or normalized, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
frustrating,
Mm-hmm.
because there is
Mm-hmm.
such a beauty standard in our culture and
Yeah.
what you're supposed to look like, which is
Yeah.
very, very, what's the word I'm looking for, um destructive, I guess, our
Yes, yes,
well-being.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think like you and I have experienced that side, right? That we get the people that have been so affected by it. And it's
Mhm.
just like, to me, it's infuriating. Sometimes the
Mhm.
things that like my clients tell me, doctors, like my doctor told me this, my doctor told me that. Like one time somebody told me, like, my doctor grabbed my fat, like my fat roll, and said, we have to do something about this. Excuse me? Like, this is just a completely subjective, emotional thing to do as a scientific professional, right? So
Mhm.
it's we're the ones that are able to see like the impact. And I feel like people in the outside world who haven't worked with clients that like on the layers and the nuances that come with it, that it's like different for everyone, has a very hard time seeing that,
Mhm.
you know? And I think
Mhm.
that's the what I always want to bring to light.
Absolutely.
It's not just like so black and white or like, oh, just do this. Oh, it's the same for everyone. No, it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like I think there's this amount of self-righteousness of kind of what you shared of like, if people diet and they have been able to lose weight, one, it's probably not going to last very long because your body wants to find homeostasis. So just throwing out that, like, we'll see how it lasts. And, but there's this like self-righteousness. I remember like we were buying stuff at a grocery store, and it was, I don't know, like there was a person behind us, and she was getting a
Mhm.
bunch of vegetables and like very, this is a judgment and I don't mean to be judgy, but like restrictive types of food. And we were
Mhm.
getting like cake and desserts and things because we like wanted something sweet. And she made a comment, and I remember being like, I
Oh,
don't
about
know
what you
you,
were buying?
bitch. Yeah. And she's like, oh, someone's like, oh, someone must be like on their cheat day. And I was just like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did not
yeah.
ask you. I do not want to know your opinion. But there is this thing about, there's this like, I don't know if there's a term for this, but there's like a thing in our society of like thin people trying to save fat people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and be like, let me
Mm-hmm.
show you the way, which is
Yeah,
so,
let me help you.
yeah, which is so frustrating and demeaning. And like, just like
Yes.
let people's bodies be bodies.
it removes the opportunity for someone to just be happy. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
for someone to be like, "Yay, I'm gonna go to the grocery store with you," and somebody's like, "Oh," and it's like, wait, like they're fine, they're happy, right? And it's like just
Hmm.
allow it,
Hmm.
but it's like that constant clash.
Yes. Of like even going to the beach or going to, we're recording this in June, and I've had some clients talk about like how they have to feel like they're in a right body or the perfect
Yeah.
body to be a part of the community. And that makes me so sad of like you
Mm-hmm.
can't just
Mm-hmm.
go and enjoy life experiences because there's this thing in the back of your mind of, oh, I'm supposed to look a certain way, or oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
The message that we tell ourselves is that I am not enough or I'm not good enough. My body
Mm-hmm.
is not good
Mm-hmm.
enough. And that is
Yeah.
so sad. And like,
Yeah. What are people
uh,
gonna say? What are they
mhm,
gonna think of me?
mhm,
And it's like that, it's like a little protective shield of, if my protective shield looks perfect, then I'll be safe.
mhm, mhm.
And that's the messed up. Well, I mean, according to this lady at the grocery store, you'd be safe from those comments, which that's where like
From
the
judgment.
validity is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And judgment as humans, and you know this, like is one of the things we try to avoid because ultimately
Yeah.
we just want connection and we want to be loved and to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a lot of dynamics that one of the things that we can do to adapt and survive through trauma is to be an overachiever, to like be a performer, to
Yeah.
look like we have it all together. And there's these
Mm-hmm.
strategies that come into place and that rigidity that comes into place in order to say, like, look at me, I'm really good, I'm fine,
Yeah.
like I have it all together. But underneath, we are like living in hell and suffering and a lot of
Yeah.
pain.
You're like, what's it called? What do the people like? People say like the a duck's feet moving under the water. That at the top of the water, you're like, I'm fine. But
But
underwater, you're like, "Tick, tick, 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 this is so hard." But yeah, and then all of that, like I have this term, literally I just made it up in a session. I would like point like my whole body image approach to it. And I call it like body blaming, right? So it's
Mhm,
this like, I'm gonna control whatever I can about me so that I can control how other people perceive me,
mhm,
right? So it's like perfectionism, everything that you just mentioned, and then how that translates to you saying, so this means that I need to lose weight. So this means that if my arms look perfect, then I'll be able to fix that, right? So you start to blame your body, criticize, right? Engage in all of these behaviors to tighten the grip and that on that control. When
mhm,
in reality, you're just like that duck. You're just trying to tread water. And it's like, this feels horrible. And
mhm.
I'm still scared of judgment because I'm not really doing any of the work that I need to do, you
Right.
know?
Right. It reminds me of that analogy of like drinking poison. Like a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
talk about like resentment or like whatever, but like or not forgiving someone is like drinking poison continuously. And it's kind of the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. You're sold this fix
Yeah.
of like just lose weight, just just do this, just blah blah blah. And then just look perfect. Gain, more muscle or
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're just continuing to drink more of this poison and feed into this
Yes.
lie that only keeps you in more pain and suffering. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, it just is a
Literally.
perpetual cycle. And then it changes your
Literally.
brain and about then you kind of yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
You go
it's
into a hole.
yeah,
Yeah.
your whole world becomes about losing weight, food
Mm-hmm.
focused, how I'm gonna perceive
Criticism.
criticism. Yeah.
Yeah. Self-blame.
Yes, and I kind of want to go into that because I have my own theories about like kind of what body image is, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious to know your thoughts about it too. Of like, because in the eating disorder world, we really talk about how body image is not really about your body, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious for you to like kind of talk more about what that is and why that is. Um,
Mm-hmm. 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 I mean, I think it depends because I worked with so many clients, right, on body image. And I think that saying, yes, it's 100% like very true. But again, there's also the nuance, right?
yes.
Of no, but for some people, it is. For some people, their body is what has made them susceptible to this fat phobia, to this treatment, to not fitting in the world, to not being able to be like mobile, right? Like to be able to like enjoy their life, right? So sometimes the body discomfort is about your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the way that I like to explain it, because usually my clients have a really tough time. Like when I say that, they're like, no, but it is. And I'm like, okay, let me take a step back.
Pivot.
So it's I'm like, I need more validation here. Um, it's really about what your body is triggering within you. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that's too like broad. Um,
Mm-mm.
right? So it's like my body discomfort, let's say that I feel tight jeans. Jeans is like a whole thing with body image. So funny. They're like, my jeans don't fit well. Um, there's no stretch. So let's say that you're sitting, right? And your jeans are tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Some person that might not have body image struggles is like, my jeans are so tight, let me unbutton them and move on with my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Piece of clothing. People who have grown up with fat phobia, all of this stuff that we've discussed, they're gonna go into like the right part of the road, which is like, oh my gosh, my jeans are so tight. I can't believe this. I failed again. I'm gonna need to buy a bigger size. What are people gonna say? I'm such a failure. I always do this, right? Woo!
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to sink deeper and deeper,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's really, I understand that the body is there, but it's more of everything that triggers for you.
Yes, there's a sensation, but then there's also the kind of the story that we create around the sensation.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
yeah, because my thoughts of it, and you can correct me if this is like wrong or if you see it a different way, but it's really a method of beating ourselves up. And it's really about
Yeah.
hatred and the relationship with ourselves. And there's like, I tell
Mm-hmm.
people that like there are people that are in larger bodies and they love themselves and they can accept themselves and they are full of
Yeah.
joy and happiness. There are people that are society would say they're ideal bodies and they're fucking miserable
They
and
hate
they do not
themselves.
find themselves attractive, and but it's all about the narrative and the story and how we
Mm-hmm.
relate to ourselves. So it's a
Exactly.
vessel of and a method of beating ourselves up.
Mm-hmm. It's like a vessel of the way that you connect with yourself.
Yes.
And that shows you everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which then impacts the way that we interact with the world. And I want to kind of talk to you too and talk a little bit more about how your clients and how body image impacts the relationships that they have, either romantic
Mm-hmm.
relationships or friendships. I know that we
Everything.
kind of talked a little bit about how like the comments and the invalidation and all the kind of like negative kind of things about it, but I'm also curious to know like from outside in, but I'm curious to know a little bit about like how your clients relationships are and how body image impacts
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how.
Well, the way that I like to explain it is that, let's say it's a romantic relationship.
Mhm,
You are in a situation, a beautiful situation, yet in a way, you're in such a vulnerable place because even if you're happy with your body, now you're saying, hey, here, look, what do you think about that? Right? Now somebody else has a little bit of like an open, like doorway
mhm,
to that vulnerable place for you.
mhm,
Right? And that can be so challenging.
mhm,
So it's like the same thing about like authenticity and connection. It's like, okay, so now I have like I love myself, right? But now I have to put myself in front of someone in such a vulnerable way and see if they receive it and they like me and they don't reject me. Mhm. Right? Oh my God. That's tough.
mhm,
So again, like that shield of no, but I can't go out with my friends or I can't go to that wedding or I can't go to that family reunion because they haven't seen me in a long time and I've gained weight. Okay, right? But it's that fear, right? I love a very emotion focused approach because you're focusing on your body, mm-hmm, I'm focusing on the emotion that you're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're terrified,
Mm-hmm.
valid, and we're able to do something with that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's really relationships. Everything that comes up with relationships, it's just like a heightened trigger, I guess, for lack of a
Absolutely.
better word, that we're adding to the equation. Like I already feel social anxiety. I already feel fear. I already feel all of this, like insecure. Now if we're in my body insecurities and then everything that triggers, oh my gosh, it's
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit harder, like
Mm-hmm.
another hurdle to
Yeah.
tackle in
Yes.
that relationship connection and all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I talk to my clients a lot about agency, which is like there's
Mhm.
not really great language in English for it, but like it's like this, I'm the driver of my life. Like I'm the
Yeah.
person that's moving towards what I want for myself. And when we buy into these lies about body image, we're forfeiting our agency and we're giving the power away to
Mhm.
other people. And then we don't have any power. And then it's like, well, I'm screwed. But we really do have power because
Mhm.
people, it's like shifting that thing about people can say whatever they want to say about me,
Yeah.
but it's really about
Well,
how I am relating to
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
allowing those people to have so much power and influence over me, or can I be okay with myself and still be in connection with myself? And
Mhm.
that's really like
Mhm.
what the healing process, at least in my world, like looks like of like, how do
Yeah.
we hold both the connection and authenticity for ourselves, not putting it
Mhm.
out there? Because a child, like as we adapt and, as a child, you have to have connection with your parent.
Yeah.
Like, you won't survive.
Survival.
But as
Yeah.
an adult, we can hold both for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
like being
And
able
it's
to,
acknowledging that that child, that fear, like that might come up when you're a child or all of those, like the anxiety, everything, it still comes up now.
hmm
And that's okay. But it doesn't
hmm
mean that you have to blame your body.
yes, 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 yes,
You
yes.
know,
Yep.
valid, of course. It's, I
hmm
mean, it's not fun to be rejected. It's not fun to be
hmm
criticized. And there's other ways. I saw an Instagram video, you just reminded me of it. It's this, I think it was a psychologist explaining like the I guess like confidence in yourself or that autonomy. And he said, let's say that you have brown hair, right? And then somebody at the grocery store comes up to you and they're like, "Oh my God, I love your blue hair." And you're like, thank
What?
you.
Thanks.
And you're like, okay, she doesn't get it, right? And then you go, I don't know, somewhere else, and somebody's like, "Oh my God, your blue hair is so cute." And you're like, "What? My hair's brown." And you're like, "Okay, huh." And you're like, "Okay, people are weird, right?"
hmm
So it's like to be able to be confident and know that your hair is brown, that when somebody tells you it's blue, you're like, "Okay, I'm fine. It's brown, but whatever you think, bye."
Okay.
You know? But you're so confident in you that when somebody else judges you, it's just says something different, you could be like, "Oh, they don't get it. Like they're not really seeing it. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're, you
Uh-huh.
know."
Uh-huh. Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
loved
yeah.
how he explained it.
I love that. I love that so much. Because a lot of times, and especially when we're younger, we take that on as truth. And
Exactly.
we will be like, wait, we start second guessing ourselves and being like, wait, is my
Do
hair
I have blue
blue?
hair?
What? And then we kind of like start disconnecting from ourselves because we can't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
But I love that definition of being like, wait, okay, yeah, I have brown hair, but they don't know what they're talking about. Like I have
Yeah.
like
They're
what?
like, maybe it's the lighting. I don't
Yeah,
know. Moving on.
moving on.
Bye.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let it
Mhm.
take away my joy and my happiness. And
Exactly. I know my hair's brown. I know who I am, and that's okay.
what do you think has been most helpful? And I know like this is a large part of the work, and it's probably an oversimplification of a question.
Hmm.
Like, what have you found that has been most helpful for your clients to navigate and change their relationship with their bodies?
Oh man, so many things. I think it's like the layered thing, right? Like,
Mm,
Well, yesterday I had a group that I run with like body image, right? And there's like new people, new clients, and then there's like clients that have been there for a little bit that have already improved their body image, right? And we were talking about like body image grief,
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
just like the grief that you experience with truly accepting your body,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we think, because somebody brought up, and this comes up so often, just as much as the jeans situation. Somebody was like, I was like fine. And then somebody took a picture of me and I saw it and literally I spiraled. They're like, I sank into a hole. I was like not even able to concentrate. And when we started to break it down, it's like, well, you haven't really given yourself the opportunity to actually accept your body for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because in all of this craziness, right? Avoidance, diet culture, body blaming, in a way, your body image discomfort comes up. We don't like it, right? It's not a fun thing to feel. So naturally, you're going to think, no, this isn't going to stay here. I'm going to lose weight. So I'm going to do all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you think back to, oh, I want to be that person that I was before. So in a way, you're living like in the past, longing for it, or in the future, oh, I'm going to do this in order to not feel this.
Mm-hmm.
But you've never really stopped and accepted, like, okay, just for this second, this is my body,
Mm-hmm.
you know? A lot comes up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like from that body image discomfort to be able to acknowledge everything that comes up, feel the grief, challenge the maladaptive behaviors, thoughts, beliefs
Mm-hmm.
in order to get like cross that bridge to get to that self-acceptance piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about that. So, with body image grief, is that about grieving kind of your ideal body?
It's grieving everything that comes up when you accept your body. So it's like an identity. It's, oh, I'm going to feel so much better. It's a
Mm-hmm.
coping. I also call body blaming or like body criticizing a coping skill, right? Like, oh, if I am uncomfortable, I just criticize myself and I use that as a way to be like, oh, I'm going to be so much better,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, this is like self-improvement me. Um, or accepting your body might bring up grief about what you're going to experience in the world, right? The fat phobia. So maybe I'm not going to be able to go on a long hike with my family. Maybe I'm going to need to get an extra long, get an extension on the seatbelt in the airplane. And that's going to bring up a lot for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's just grieving everything. And for everyone, it's very different, right? Maybe it's grieving the relationship that this is not the way that this is going to impact my relationship with my dad, who's fat phobic. I'm going to have to set a lot of boundaries instead of being like, no, my relationship is going to be good because I'm going to change. I'm going to continue to try to shrink myself. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just all of these layers that are impacted by actually accepting your body in the moment,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. When you talked about identity and like how our bodies are tied into identity, I think about a client that I was working with one time, and they identified that their body and their body image was like to be a sex symbol, and
Mm-hmm.
how it was really hard for them to let that go because of the fear of what their partner was going to do. If
Mm-hmm.
I do
Yeah.
this, if I hate saying this, but let myself go, if I like have
Mm-hmm.
more acceptance around my body,
Mm-hmm.
then they're going to go find someone else,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I remember like sitting with them and kind of really grieving that and kind of be coming to the
Yeah.
place of like, that might be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happens, is that the relationship that you want to be in? Is that the
Yeah.
relationship that you want to be the main source of connection, or there's other ways of connecting? And also,
Yes.
like, people in larger bodies can still have a good time. Like, people, like, they can still experience pleasure and have a good time. You know what I mean?
Have an amazing relationship. And also thinking
Yeah.
about like in what kind of relationship are you now? It sounds like you're afraid constantly,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're just like in a relationship where you're scared to change, where you're scared to be authentic and happy
Mm-hmm.
and free.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It's,
Obviously, it's a choice, right?
yeah.
It's like choosing your hard. You can always stay
Mm-hmm.
there, but this is bringing up a lot for you.
Yeah.
And do you want to stay with someone that makes you feel that way or have a conversation about it?
Hmm. As we talk through this, I'm like increasingly like having a lot of sadness come up. Like it is
Mm-hmm.
so sad because like as you kind of pull back that onion and all the layers, there is this like fear of being rejected, and that's so sad and painful. And I get it,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
It's sad.
No, and I mean, a lot of people believe that your body size can control your relationship,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, wait a second, no. Like, I always say, like, think of the exceptions. Think of everybody in Hollywood that has been cheated on or that has experienced rejection in the way that you're terrified to feel.
Hmm.
And these people are like gorgeous, right? The epitome of like what society deems like perfect. They have
Hmm.
all the means and they're still experiencing that.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
terrifying that
Hmm.
we can't control it. And that's the scary part. And that's what attempting to control your body gives us. It numbs that fear for us. If I just
Hmm.
control this, if I just really grasp onto it really hard, then I don't have to fear that. Then I'll be fine. And in
Hmm.
reality, well, I don't know.
It gives us like a false security.
Yeah, false security blanket.
Yeah. Yeah. I like kind of put it in a different way for some clients of like, if you had to lose your leg and then
Mm-hmm.
your partner would be like, oh, your body's changed, screw you. I'm like
Yeah,
not wanting to like
that's
be
such
with you
a
anymore
good
because
point.
you don't have a leg anymore. Like, was your relationship that secure? Like it was like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like someone, if you told a friend that and be like, hey, I lost my leg and then my partner broke up with me or divorced me, you'd be like, screw that person.
Like, excuse me?
But why do we
Why?
do it? But why do we do it when people gain weight or you know what I mean? Like when our
Yeah.
bodies naturally age.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't want to cut you
We
off.
both like we're gonna say something the same way. Um, it's looking externally to control something internal, and it's just completely backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is so much about like any strategy that we come up with, right? Because
Yeah.
like you talking about skills, I'm a huge believer that everything works until it doesn't. Substance abuse
Mm-hmm.
works. It's a great
Yeah.
way of numbing yourself until it doesn't work anymore. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so
Mm-hmm.
these like criticism strategies, the numbing of and like it's really a form of dissociation of being able
Mm-hmm.
to not really feel your body. You know, these all work until you wake up one day and you're like, whoa, this isn't what I want
What have
anymore.
I done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Where
yeah.
has this led me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Literally, I
like
love talking about this.
I know, I love this conversation. But I don't want people to listen and then realize like relate to it and be like, oh, I feel like I'm a failure or a fuck up or like I'm doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It totally makes sense given
Mm-hmm.
the world and the environment that we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially like with working with like a bunch of queer and gay people,
Mm-hmm.
I think like that also has so many nuances. And I know there's a lot of pressures just being a
Yeah.
woman in this society. And I know
Mm-hmm.
like I'm surprised at how many dudes I talk to or I will hear that also have a lot of negative body image, but I
Yes.
don't think they can talk about it, which is also very sad, like straight men.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Or even
so,
gay men too. I have a couple clients who are gay and they're like, one is even sober and he drank when he felt most pressured to look a certain way. So he's going
yeah.
to like an event, I don't remember what it was, but
Hmm?
the like pressure to fit in and look perfectly and like, oh my God, they're gonna judge me. What are they gonna say? Like all of that. He was like, I had a drink. And I was like, okay, you're okay, you're good.
Yeah.
But let's process this because
Mhm.
that felt he was like, I've never thought of drinking in a year. And
Hmm.
he was like, why did I think about it now? And I'm like, because you feel so much pressure,
Yeah, you wanted to
you
numb out,
know?
dude. Makes sense.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. He was so confused. I'm like, no, it's hard.
It
It's
is hard.
hard.
It is hard. Something that we haven't talked about yet that I wanted to pick your brain about too, because you're talking about neutrality, is body positivity and the body positivity movement. Because I hear a lot
Hmm.
about that. And I think when people think about that or hear that term, they make an assumption of kind of what that means.
Yeah, yeah,
Of going kind of like, and I think sometimes if you are trying to change the way that you relate to your body, you can kind of take that movement and be like, oh, I have to be completely okay with everything with my body. Um,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
thoughts, feeling, what's happened for you?
Nuances. I mean, okay, so body positivity, yes, the word I feel like is a little bit misleading. I see it more as a human's rights type of thing than
Interesting.
like a love your body type of thing, you know? I think, yeah, everybody concludes different things from the name. Um, but it's about people in all body sizes deserving respect and appropriate care and
Mm,
appropriate access to healthcare, to clothing, right? So it's I think it's way deeper than just loving your body the way it is, even though that is a part of it of like, okay, let's embrace all different body sizes, but it's more about the people's rights
mm,
side of it, in
mhm,
my perspective.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you say that's different from body neutrality, or basically like
Well,
same
I think
spectrum?
body neutrality, I don't even know if it's like a movement. I haven't heard of it, but for me, body neutrality is for you to be able to not be held back by your body
Yeah.
in the judgment type of way, right? There's things
Mm-hmm.
that we just can't like control, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but to not be held back by everything that your body triggers within
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
To be like, to me, body neutrality is just going like sitting and working without thinking about your body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just being like, oh, okay, let's go to lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eating a
Mm-hmm.
normal meal without
Mm-hmm.
thinking about your body,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or even looking at a picture and seeing your body in an objective, respectful way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, I'm a different size than the person sitting next to me. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of that, again, impacting your whole day, your whole definition about yourself, and then everything thereafter.
Mm-hmm. There's so much freedom in that.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
gosh,
Of
yes.
like,
Yeah.
uh, and like even not having to think about food all the time or thinking
Mhm.
about your body all the time. It
Yeah.
allows you to have access to aliveness and joy and like live your
Just be
life
present.
and be
Yeah.
present. Yeah.
And connect with you. I think a lot of times, like people are like, when they're, and this is also from like personal experience, like when you're so focused on your body and oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I have to control it. I'm gonna go, right? It's like chaotic. It feels very like impulsive and like anxiety ridden.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're able to kind of, you could be like, wait, I don't even want to go to the event. I don't even want to be with these people. Or like, no, I really care about this person. But you're able to connect to you. What do I want? Who am I? How do I
Mm-hmm.
want to lead my life? What do I want to prioritize if it's not like dieting and exercising and like thinking about my body? There's so much brain space.
Yeah.
So it's like getting to like reconnect with who you are when you
Mm-hmm.
take this huge piece, huge fear away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to think about things is like in dialectics, which are basically like two opposing forces. And
Hmm.
I think about there's like the positive movement, the body positive movement. And I think like in some spaces it has been sold as like love yourself and like almost like toxic positivity type thing. And then there's like body
Yeah.
hatred on one side. And body neutrality is
Uh-huh.
being able to recognize like, okay, there are parts of my body that I would like to change, but it's
Hmm.
not worth changing.
Yeah.
It's not like worth changing. And there's acceptance there. And it's like,
Hmm.
I don't think that anyone is going to be like, I love everything about my body. There's things about my body that, I don't really particularly love, but I'm
Yeah,
accepting of it.
yeah,
It is what it
yeah,
is. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
and acceptance is like the part of like the avenue to freedom, I think.
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of times I explain it to like, and this is like completely besides fat phobia, but I grew up in a family that's like super tall. Like they're all really tall people. I'm not that tall, but like my uncle is like almost 2 meters tall. Like everybody's tall and they have to shop at different stores
Hmm.
and I'm telling you every time. Some like we go to the grocery store, we go somewhere like my dad is super tall. Everybody comments on their like their I don't their height.
Oh, you're super tall.
Oh my God, are you a basketball player? Right? Like, where do you shop? What are you eating? And it's like, my dad and my uncle were like, oh my God. They're like, yeah. And then they turn around, they're like, oh my God. Right? But it's, if we can compare it to something very objectively without the fat phobia and the discrimination, we can kind of see a parallel, right? Without that judgment, without that self-criticism and like, oh, he's not disciplined because he's tall. What? What do you mean? It's more like biological. It's something that we can't really control. So there's a lot of factors that we can't control about our bodies,
Mhm.
but we are made to believe that we can and then feel guilty when we cannot.
Because
Imagine
someone's
if
making
my dad
money
was
off
like,
of it.
exactly. Imagine if my dad was like, I feel so bad. I'm so tall. I'd be like, what? No, you're fine. Like, why? Why is this equal guilt? So
Mhm.
it's just so layered.
It is so layered. As we start wrapping up, I'm
Mhm.
curious, my dog, do you hear her?
I don't.
Oh,
It's so
she's like
cute.
already like she's like, "Ugh," like it's time for dinner,
Look at
Dad.
the time.
She's like staring at me and like she's like
I
it's
love it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bossy.
She is a little bossy. She is
I
a little
love
bossy,
it.
but I love her. Is there anything that you feel like we skimmed over or didn't talk enough about, or anything that you want to mention that we maybe haven't like discussed yet?
Not really. I feel like it's a good discussion,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we didn't touch on like a lot of different things like trauma or people who are transgender and how that impacts their body image. But again, it's just like all of the nuances and all of the layers that come with that it just depends on the person and how it shows up for them, you know?
yeah. And this is such a
Yeah.
huge conversation. And once again, it's nuanced, and I think it's different for
Hmm.
everyone, and how people relate to
Exactly.
themselves is so different. But anyways, so if someone wants to learn more about you and what you do, where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
So my website is my name, DanielaDurazo.com, and then Instagram, bodyimage.binge.coach, and where I talk mostly on binge eating, but I also have a few things about body image and a course and all of that. So they can reach out to me either through the website or Instagram. Feel free. That's where
Yeah.
I'll be.
Feel free, that's where I'll be. I have to say that your Instagram is on point.
Is it?
Yes, I am always looking at
Oh
your Instagram. I'm like, oh,
gosh.
she is rocking it. She's killing it.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then everybody's like, I love this. I'm like, okay, well, at least I'm providing something.
If
But
you
yeah, I love
ever,
my Instagram.
seriously,
It's fun.
if you ever feel like down about it, I will 100% give you some encouragement.
I'll be
Because
like, Josh, I'm in it. Help me.
I'll be like, yeah, you're killing it. And I'll be
Good,
honest, I
good.
would tell you, I'm like, yeah, this is not it.
Yeah. You're slacking a little bit this week.
Come on,
Yeah.
get it together, Danny.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. This has been great.
Thank
You
you.
have
It
such a
has been.
you have such a cool energy about you.
Thank you.
And
You
I
too.
really appreciate it.
Thank
So thank you for
you.
being you. Thank you for just showing up and doing your work because it's really
Thank
important and
you.
it's like it's hard work.
It's hard work. We do hard work,
You do hard
but I
work.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for providing the space.
Of
You're doing the
course.
good work.
Thanks. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. If you liked this episode, please like it, share with a friend, or subscribe to the YouTube channel. I really would appreciate that. If you want to work with me or if you want to work with Dani, our information is down in the show notes below. Stay tuned because there's more to come. Right.
know I saw it because I'm actually gonna go on Friday. And we're gonna do like a boat day on Saturday. And my friend was like, I think it's gonna rain. No, we booked it. But my friend was like, I think it's gonna rain. And then I saw it and I was like, oh my God, you guys have the worst weather right now.
You may have to like kayak through the streets.
We're gonna be like,
That's your boat trip. It's so fun.